Welcome to the Finding Purpose Livecast, where we feature authors, leaders, and speakers of purpose on a live platform to have truly authentic conversations. And now your host, Davin Salvagno.
Hey, Brad, how are you?
Great, Davin. How are you?
I am doing very well, brother. I am so excited to have you on today. It's just great to see you. I know it's been some time with these last couple months, and I'm excited for people to get to know you, and it's going to be an awesome conversation.
Appreciate the invitation to join you today, Davin.
I thank you for taking time out of your schedule. I know that you are very busy. You got a lot going on, and so we're grateful to have you here today. Today, we're here with Brad Seitzinger, who is the managing partner of Northwestern Mutual. Brad has personally been a friend and mentor to me for more than 10 years. I've learned a lot about leadership and coaching and purpose and perseverance, so many things that I could talk about. But I want you guys to get to know Brad and hear his story and his wisdom, his insights, and his heart. So Brad, why don't you introduce yourself and share your story and your background so people can get to know the Brad that I know and love.
Yep. Hello, everyone. I would like to start with sharing that I grew up in Southern Illinois. People still notice that I have an accent, but it really is originating from Southern Illinois. I grew up about 2 hours from Nashville, Tennessee, and about 6 miles from Paducah, Kentucky, in Metropolis, Illinois, and home of Superman. And when I graduated, I attended the University of Evansville on a cross-country scholarship. And after about 2 years there running, I decided that I was going to hang up my cleats or spikes, and I needed to find a job. And I thought an internship that I had the opportunity to earn some money and get some work experience was the best. And I found Northwestern Mutual's internship program the summer of my sophomore year. So I was an intern for 2 years while I was in college, and that led me to a full-time position with them. I finished as the number 2 intern in the nation for the company, and the guy that beat me, ironically, is now the all-time number 1 producer in Northwestern Mutual's history. I moved to Nashville when I graduated and started as a full-time advisor out of that office. And my college girlfriend, Jill, moved down to Nashville with me. We shortly got married. And about 3 years in, I had a chance to move into a leadership position up in East Tennessee. So I moved 300 miles to start over again, but this time building not only my clientele, but I was interviewing, selecting, coaching, and developing other advisors in that office. And when I started, we had 1 rep, myself, and we grew it to about 15 advisors over about a decade. Then I moved to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and spent 2.5 years in our corporate headquarters before I moved to Michigan, where my wife is from, born and raised. And I moved here 16 years ago, and I've been in the position as the managing partner for 14 years. I'll celebrate 26 years of marriage this fall, and I have a daughter who is an incoming junior at Baylor University in Texas, and a son who will be a senior at Notre Dame Prep.
Wow. That is such an awesome journey. And I still can't believe just how much you fit in those years and how much impact that all represents, the significance, the purpose that you have lived through all of that. And you can also see it, in your kids, how they've carried that on in what they're doing in their lives right now. Talk to us a little bit about that journey, whether that's, the purpose that you found in it and what that means to you.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to share a little bit more about my story, especially as it relates to purpose and the stages that I've gone through. We're going to talk about adversity and how I've dealt with some of that through life and through business as well. But when I came into the career, like a lot of young people, when you don't have financial security or any money, that can be very motivating to somebody that's young. And so I think I came in for an opportunity to live a life by design, but I knew if I continued to work hard at growing myself and hard at this opportunity, that I had a chance to live an above average lifestyle. And so that was where my mind was at 22, 23, 24. Then after some time, as I got married, I think the next stage of purpose in my life was focused around freedom and autonomy. It didn't take me long. Doctors were primarily my largest client source. And I could see those individuals at 50, 45, 55, that their freedom and autonomy was worth more than the next $100,000 of income, or they were willing to take a pay cut just to have more freedom. And so I fell in love with autonomy and freedom. And that seemed to be some of my purpose at the next stage. I think the third stage that I came into individually pursuing leadership is who I had to become to do it well. Not only as an advisor, it's a tough challenge on who you have to become, the habits that you have to create, the self-awareness, but as a leader, people that are growing others, it's a lifelong journey. But the payoff is not money, and it wasn't autonomy. It's who I've had to become over this 30 years that I've had with Northwestern Mutual. I think I'll celebrate 30 years next week here in June. And most of that's been in a leadership function of some sort. The next step, I think, in that personal development journey, I kind of always had a vision for what I was growing in a business and myself. But my personal mission and purpose has been to grow myself and to grow other people to help them reach their potential and achievement goals. And so that was the lifelong pursuit. When I became a managing partner leading this firm, I remember having my purpose and thought that would scroll across my computer screen that said, the way you build a business and become successful and happy is to grow your leaders. And before you can do that effectively, you have to grow yourself. And so again, that lifelong pursuit around growth and development myself. Now, our firm, where we're at today, and the purpose statement for our firm is that we transform lives by aligning actions with intentions. And so I do that as I coach and help people see if this is their right fit for a career here or not. I'm trying to align their actions with their intentions, just as we do in planning. You know, the impact that a career financial advisor with Northwestern can have on the community or the state or the world is phenomenal in terms of the planning that they put in place. And so that's our mission or purpose now. I'll say it again, we transform lives by aligning actions with people's intentions. And they usually need us as a catalyst to do that type of work. As I mentioned about growth, you know, there's this whole theme around personal growth and development. I'd like to share with people that are also on this journey that I've come to believe there's 4 aspects of that you want to focus on. The first is self-awareness. That may be the hardest and the longest journey for most people. The second is communication, how you communicate, not only individually one-on-one, but in a group setting, a large group setting, a large speech. And the other 2 are influence. Leadership defined in one word is influence. And how influential as a person are you? And then the last, 4th one, is how you learn. You're learning agility, which is tough as we see all the change and the pace of change that's going on in the world today. That has to be a skill that you're going to have to get good at. I think we're all most fulfilled when we're constantly challenged and taking action. And so I think that's how we start to grow. I'm reminded of Simon Sinek. and start with why. As you're doing stuff in purpose, start with why. I'd like to read you a quote that I thought of today as it regards to purpose. It's a guy by the name of Leo Muir, that's M-U-I-R, that said, "Great minds have purposes, others have wishes. Little minds are tamed and subdued with misfortune.
Ooh.
Great minds rise above all." And I see that in life every day. I think I've told Davin that, one of the hardest things you can do is deal with human frailty. And that's people who just don't have the discipline or have become a victim in life and don't feel like they're in control to move out of that from a purpose standpoint. So I think the next thing I'd like to share with you guys on purpose is intensity. I find people that have purpose, but they have to be really intense about it. Kind of like what Davin is on his work with Purpose Point. You've got to really be passionate and intensity, have an intense for it. And when you combine ability with patience, that's when you're going to have a great stuff, because people that have the ability but don't have patience for things to transform, it's going to fail. And then there's people that have a lot of patience, but they're not growing or wanting to grow and learn and grow their ability. And I call those people drones. It's not going to happen either. So you have to combine the ability and the patience together to create genius. Now, in my work, you've heard me say we transform lives by aligning actions with intentions. One of the ways that I do that now is helping people figure out what their career fit should be. And as Davin's heard me say, as it relates to people trying to find out what you want to do with your life, the first two things that come to mind are self-awareness. That usually takes about a decade out of undergrad, college, for people to be able to articulate clearly what they're good at, what they're not, what kind of problems they enjoy solving, because you need to have those in your work to feel happy and committed. And then the second is most people don't ever take time to write down in detail their most amazing future, or what most people would call a vision. It's kind of a dream list of what you want your life to look like in the future. And then I challenge people on how much of that that's written down is really optional. What you want, what you really, really want, and what you really, really want that you're committed to can be three different things. And so, in terms of your life, it's not your past that determines your future. It's the future you choose. What's on that sheet that shapes the present choices and decisions that you should be making, not only which company or job that'll help you lead a purposeful life by design. Everyone has talent, but the question is do you have the courage to step into situations that are going to make you really uncomfortable? And that's where the growth happens. You probably have heard before things like life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond to it. That's been my experience in life. So when we talk about adversity, we all have challenges in adversity, but when I think about it from a business standpoint, there's been a lot. I moved here to 2 offices that were being merged together, and we had 25% of our production leave with 4 of our top advisors before I ever even got started. And when you go through something like that, I think people should know, how do I get through that? I turn to my faith. So I think we're all spiritual beings living a human experience. And so I turn to prayer. I think the thing that got me through that with my inner core at peace is just having a good attitude. So I talk a lot here about carrying your own sunshine around. I like to say at the start of all my meetings, it's a beautiful day in the great state of Michigan, no matter what the weather or day is. And so that's an example of how important it is to carry that sunshine, your own sunshine with you. And to know that when something does come your way, like the marketplace did for me in 08 and 09 for a lot of people, how did we get through that? It was it was walking around me saying this elevator's only going up. We're only going to grow and we're not going to become victims. So one of our values here is personal responsibility, and we define that as being a victim or a victor, and that's a choice you make in life. Let me stop there, Davin. I continue to go through the rest of my story, but I want to stop and give you a chance to say anything you want before I continue.
Brother, you just put on an entire course. I mean, that was a course on purpose, on growth mindset, and on overcoming adversity. A couple things that you said there. You talked a lot about self-awareness. The guest that we had on yesterday on the Finding Purpose Livecast was Zach Mercurio, and he said this quote, and it was the first time he had ever said it. He told me after the fact, I've thought these words, but they've never come out of my mouth. He said, self-awareness without purpose is self-indulgence. And I had him repeat it again. Self-awareness without purpose is self-indulgence. And what I heard as you shared your story was you were the first person that I really heard break down purpose in different stages. You know, in the early part of your career, purpose was really about you. It was about the life that you wanted to live and how you got success and how you got autonomy and freedom. But then as you grew, you realized that purpose was really about others and who you help others become. And that really has been your legacy, is all of the other people that you've looked at and said, who can I help this person become? Whether that's an advisor that's worked for you or a colleague that's worked with you. I know that you're in a lot of study groups. Maybe it's another managing partner or someone else in the company. You're always looking through the mindset of, who am I helping this person become? In fact, in the book, Finding Purpose, I wrote about you in that chapter. Who are you helping others become? Because that really has defined your purpose and your legacy. It was the self-awareness that you had, but now this purpose of, I can't keep that for myself. I have a responsibility to help others live out their purpose. And how can I help them do that?
Now, I think two things there. Yeah, I would encourage everyone, don't make it about the money first. And that's hard when you're young, as I said. And so the sooner you can really find a purpose that is emotional and sentimental, and that is not just making it about the money. And Davin, I think you're right. I think the greatest purpose is to live life serving others, whether it's helping them grow or impacting their life. And we all know what the golden rule is. I like to talk about the platinum rule. And the platinum rule is, if you will help others get what they want out of life, you'll get what you want. And so that's kind of been another, focus as I give back and try to help coach and develop and help other people achieve what their vision is for their life, just like I feel like I've tried to do with integrity on Davin.
Yeah, and you have done that. I will tell you that you use the word coach. No one has probably coached me more honestly, genuinely, and boldly than you. I know that I can tend to be long-winded, so you've helped me be a better listener. I know I've had a hard time challenging other people and moving them to take action that aligns with their intentions as a coach and as a leader. And you've helped me recognize that and do that. And also on that victim or victor mentality, there's been times where I had to deal with adversity, and you've challenged me and said, where are you taking responsibility in this? And so, coaching is hard, but when you're doing it from a perspective of wanting to help others, it's like being a parent, right? No discipline is good at the time. Scripture says that no discipline feels good at the time, but it's necessary if you love others, right? I can't just allow, Vera and Bennett to do whatever they want. If I love them, there's a level of coaching and discipline that I have to give them if I want to help them become who they were created to be And you've done a tremendous job of not just doing that for me as a leader and as a coach, but for, countless advisors and people you've worked with over the years.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. And you're right. If you really care about people, you've got to care about them enough to challenge them on the truth and reality. And I think that doesn't happen enough. We talked earlier about courage taking you to uncomfortable places. That would be an example of that. I want to share with you, everyone here, the most impactful book. In this case, it's a speech that I've ever read on purpose. And I share this with my kids, friends, family, an intern we've got working here this summer. And so it's a speech that was written in 1940 by a gentleman named Albert Gray. And I want to read you some of the comments from here that I want for you to continue to weigh in on and to think about. And so he talks a lot about the common denominator of success is the title of the speech. And why do some people succeed and others don't? And he talks about that successful people have learned to form the habit of doing things that unsuccessful people don't want to do. And so there's a comment about self-discipline. To the extent you can't discipline yourself, life's going to be difficult. But then he goes in to talk about, well, I have a purpose, and it's to provide for my wife and kids, food on the table. And he says that's really not enough. That's a logical purpose. And there's no passion. There's no, logic is just not enough. You've got to have something that's more emotional and sentimental in your purpose in your work. And because he says that it's too easy to not to choose to do the things you need to, because we can adjust ourselves to the hardships of a poor living than to do the things we know we need to make a better one. Here's the quote: "There's no inspiration in logic. There's no courage in logic. There's not even happiness in logic. There's only satisfaction. The only place logic has in my life is in the realization that the more I'm willing to do for, let's say, my wife and children, the more I shall be able to do for myself." And he talks about, don't ever forget that while you may succeed beyond your fondest hopes and your greatest expectations, you will never succeed beyond the purpose to which you're willing to surrender. Ooh. And I think, he has a lot of good stuff. I'm sure you can find that online as well. And in closing, I want to share with, everyone here, just some philosophy or purpose about life in general at this stage in mind. I think the first one would be knowing the right thing. A lot of times is easy. Doing the right thing is hard. And you've got to always do the right thing, no matter how tough the situation is, or the conflict or the outcome of that. I think the other one would be, this is hard, is don't focus on the destination or the goal. Make it about the journey. You have heard that, but you got to live each day to the best of your ability and living in joy that in that moment, how to be present in the moment. And then maybe the best purpose statement I've heard comes from Covey, which is just to live, learn, love, and leave a legacy, which is what I'm trying to accomplish.
I think you're more than trying. I think you have accomplished that, and you can continue to accomplish that. One of the deepest things that I respect about you, Brad, is, and you don't really share this, right? There's, I heard, well, this is really a C.S. Lewis quote, but Tim Keller writes about it in his book, The Freedom of Self-Forgetfulness. And that's the true definition of humility, is not thinking less about someone or yourself. It's thinking about yourself less. So not thinking less about yourself, minimizing yourself, but thinking about yourself less and focusing on others. And what many people don't know about you is you have had a very blessed and successful life in terms of if you look at financial security and lifestyle, but you shared that other quote that you won't outgrow unless your potential, basically, unless you're willing to surrender to that greater purpose that you're created for. And so what I love about you is that regardless of any measure of success that you've achieved in your life, you don't really speak about it. You don't focus on yourself, you focus on others. And you could have stopped doing what you have been doing years ago, but you continue to do it because the purpose that you have surrendered to, the responsibility of growing others, transcends the success that you have accomplished. I know that, when Bear Bryant, was coaching football, and even Paterno when he was coaching football, sadly, as his legacy ended, both of them could have retired sooner, but they didn't, because it wasn't about the game. It was never about the game for Bryant and Paterno. It was about their players. It was about who they were helping their players become. And so for you, it's never really been about the success of the career that you've lived, or even about your legacy that you just said. It's always been about your opportunity to impact, coach, and lead others. And that's what keeps you going.
Well, I think one of the things, whether you're a Michigan fan or not, they still have the winningest record in college football. But, you hear a lot about their focus on what it means to be a Michigan man. And I think that's character and player development, which is the right focus. And so I'd like to think that's what we're trying to do here as well.
You are. In fact, one of the things that we talked about coaching, and you speak of Michigan, above my shoulder, actually over there, is a picture of Desmond Howard and me, actually at Northwestern Mutual. And Brad brought Desmond Howard in, obviously a well-known Michigan man. And he was asked this question. He said, if you could say only one thing, just one thing, as he wrapped up, because we're almost wrapping up here as we approach 11:30. But he said, if you could say one thing to people, what would it be? And he said 2 words: be coachable. And I'll never forget that.
I won't either.
I'll never forget he said that. And that's no matter what level of success that you achieve or adversity that you're facing, always be coachable. And so I've tried to take that approach in life. And it's only because I've taken that approach that I've been able to allow people like Brad to be able to speak into my life and help me overcome adversity, help me fulfill purpose, help me make a greater impact in the lives of others. So Brad, thank you for your patience with me over the years, because I know that hasn't been easy. And thank you for continuing to coach me and to challenge me, and just for your friendship more than anything over this last decade.
Thank you for saying that. The feeling's mutual, Davin. I have a lot of respect for you and what you're doing now. You're doing a great job.
I appreciate that. Today, we were here with Brad Seitzinger, Managing Partner, Northwestern Mutual. And you'll be able to, you can check Brad out. He's on LinkedIn. He's on Facebook. You can check him out on Northwestern Mutual's website. And of course, you can check this out on YouTube. And so we hope that you will join us for the next episode of the Finding Purpose Livecast to hear more leaders like Brad and authors and speakers of purpose as you continue to find your purpose and to move forward to make a greater impact in the lives of others. Thank you for listening today.
Thank you.